This is the FM Gold channel of All India Radio. In the program Money Talk, now we bring you a dialogue on inflation at 7 months high. The participants are DC Gupta, former Finance Secretary, and Gemini Kumar Srivastav, Business News Analyst.
Mr. DC Gupta, inflation in India unexpectedly hit a 7-month high in September as food prices climbed up, and a possibility is being seen that there will be a reason for the RBI to further increase the interest rates. What is your immediate reaction to this kind of a situation wherein there have been efforts by the government, by the RBI to contain inflation? Still it is on a rise. And the other aspect is that if you squeeze the money out of the system or keep the liquidity under check and control inflation this way, this also doesn't seem to work because of the fact that if you see the interest of the common man, there will be people who may have enough money, but there will be people who may not have enough money to buy essential commodities also. So looking at these two contrasting situations, both as an economist and as a common man, how would you like to react to this scenario?
You see, the inflation rates have suddenly gone up in the month of September. Our WPI, Wholesale Price Index, is now 6.5 as against 6.1% last month. Similarly, the consumer price inflation, that also has gone up to 10%. It is 9.84.
Which is quite alarming.
Which is quite high, and this was 9.54 last month. So there has been an increase in the CPI also. Now, in India, we normally take WPI as a barometer of inflation because that has got number of considerations behind it. Now, both these figures have gone up, largely according to the data released by the Central Statistical Office, is on account of food prices, and particularly in the food, vegetables, onions, etc. Onion prices have gone up by 323%. Similarly, the vegetable prices have gone up by 89%. Fruits have also gone up. And one of the contributory factor has been, I think, is the effect of the adjustment of the fuel prices increases, which has got reflected perhaps in the transport cost, which has added to the increase in the prices of these food products. It is not something which has suddenly come up in September. If you look in the past, the policy documents issued by the RBI has been disclosing for last 1 year that our inflationary situation is pretty a matter of concern, and largely because of food inflation.
But the point is, this kind of understanding about inflation was in a way never taken into account by and large. Generally, it is the industrial output and other such factors or the large commodities which used to be taken into account. Food inflation was never referred to that seriously.
No, food inflation has been referred in the RBI reports. In all monetary policy statement, food inflation has been referred to, and the warning was also given.
In the recent past, you are referring?
About a year.
About a year, not earlier. That's what I am referring to.
About a year. And they have been talking of government initiating certain steps for removing the supply constraints, supply side initiatives to take. Then how to increase the yield production, how to do away with the middleman and all that, so that there is no addition in the cost which reaches the consumer. So I was not really surprised, and it is not that alarming that in September it has gone marginally up. Second point which I would like to say is that this is the time when prices usually go up.
Because of the monsoon.
Because of the monsoon, because there is a rainy season, and rainy season vegetables arrive late, this, that, all kinds of problems are there. Of course, this time the biggest factor has been onion. Now onion, there are several aspects of that problem. Maybe a production aspect, maybe hoarding aspect, and some other issues were there which the government is also trying to handle it. But our problem is that we need to have a back-ended infrastructure so that the supply side constraints are removed in the food chain. Unless that is done, and this calls for various policy measures which we have been talking of, long term, medium term and short term. Short term is one of those things is imports. Medium term and long term is the storage facilities and transport facilities, etc.
Imports has always been a point of concern, and one would always wish that at least imports of the food items, especially the vegetables and fruits,
No, that
should never be encouraged.
No, certainly not. Certainly not. I'm not saying that we should import it. What I'm saying is, I'm talking in terms of supply side constraint. Certain items we can certainly take short-term measures, like there was a talk of importing onions, earlier pulses, edible oils.
As far as the onion is concerned, there is a pattern to it. I mean, you can take a look at the decade-long things which have happened. There was a time that one of the governments in Delhi had to go because of the onion prices. Now, you have already mentioned about the production issue, the weather. The other important issue is hoarding and cartelization.
Yep.
Cartelization is an issue which needs to be addressed. But the question is how much price you would want to have on your produce. There has to be a yardstick to that. Can government ever, in this kind of a free economy scenario, ever fix the prices even though it is into private hands? But do you think a scene in India sometime, if not in the immediate future, wherein the government will fix up the price range, 50 to 100 or 50 to 80?
No, I don't think it can be done. I don't think it can be done. It should not be done. We have had an experience with the Essential Commodities Act. Now, Essential Commodities Act is still there. Now, if a commodity is declared essential commodity, then you have certain powers which you derive it. Basically hoarding, cartelization, things like that.
But onion is something on which the poor fellow, the poor man relied. One chapati and one onion, and that was the poor man's food.
No, but anti-hoarding action has been taken by various state governments. Because Essential Commodities Act, the problem there is that the basic power remains with the state governments. It is not the central government which can interfere.
The point is there has to be a holistic view of the situation by the center and state governments, because price rise of essential food items or commodities impacts the entire nation as a whole. I mean, do you think that we are entangled too much into the powers of the state center vis-a-vis on such issues, and there needs to be some kind of a simplification?
I was mentioning in the context of EC Act. I'm not saying about state and center. The fact of the matter is that onion prices have shot up, and there is quite a bit of weightage in the WPI of the food item, about 1/3. As a result of this, the WPI has gone up. Now, the only point which I am trying to make out is that sudden spike in the month of September in the prices of food articles, which is mainly responsible for the spike in the WPI, should not be considered to be alarming. It happened, so many other factors have been there, mainly the season changes, etc. But it does give us a indication that we need to take steps to initiate supply side initiatives. Now, the second point which you mentioned is that how does it affect your macroeconomic outlook, particularly the repo rate and things like that, monetary policy.
Yes.
Now, here you see the question is that let us understand, I feel that with very good rainfall this season, your kharif crop going to be very good. Today, some estimates by the Agriculture Prices Commissions are that growth will be around 4.5% in agriculture.
Barring a few areas.
Barring a few areas. Overall growth. Now, if that is the case, then rural demand will pick up. And lot of purchasing power will go to the rural areas. Now, all that might mean also, with the arrivals of the new crops, that our inflation scenario will cool down. And because of the rising consumer demand and because of the rising incomes, there is also a possibility that again some of the industries which have been having problems, particularly consumer durables. Consumer durables industry has suffered. People don't have money to buy because, as somebody pointed out, that about 50% of our budget is spent on food, and for poor it is 60%. Now, when you are prioritizing the expenditure, whatever limited income you have, you put money on the food, and when food prices go up, naturally your purchasing power comes down and you don't go for consumer durables. But non-durable has done well, 6% increase. But IIP data shows that consumer durables have suffered. Now, we can expect reasonably that with the coming few months, when the new crops will start arriving and rural demands will increase, there is a possibility that there would be a brighter side to the whole scenario, that these industries might come up. But the fact of the matter is, what do you expect the RBI to do? Now, RBI new governor has already said that inflation is my main criteria. Growth is of course important, but today there is a low growth and high inflation. So now some kind of balancing has to be done so that you don't throttle growth, yet you take care of the inflation. Now from that point of view, it is a speculation or it is some kind of a estimate by some experts that RBI may increase in the next 29th October policy statement by 25 basis points. It may happen, it may not happen.
Even if it happens, will it really make a dent in the inflation?
It will send a signal. I don't think it will make a dent because 25 basis point increase is neither here nor there. Because at the same time, you must have seen that RBI is following two policies. One is short-term liquidity. You are taking care of it by reducing the standing facility rates. But in order to send out a signal that I am serious with this thing long-term, medium-term, I am increasing the repo rate. So therefore, it is very difficult to say, and I think we should not conjecture it. Maybe RBI may not do anything. It depends on what is the current estimates. And I have a feeling that we should not be so alarmist at this stage. Let us wait that October, November is the festivity season and some crops will start arriving also in the market. Things may cool down. But
it will also increase demand.
It will also
it will have some positive impact on some industries. Of course, automobile industry is quite scared.
Automobile industries, tractors demand will go up, two-wheelers demand will go up. But the worrying point is the fuel price adjustments which we are doing, which we are forced to do. There is no alternative because we have to contain the fiscal deficit. Now, fiscal deficit of the government today is about 8.7% according to one economist. Now, Finance Minister is saying that I am going to ensure that it is 4.8% by the end of this year.
How does it happen?
Now, one conjecture is that if he has to follow 4.8, that means there will be X on the plan expenditure. If you cut down the plan expenditure, then you reduce the amount of money which is going. But increasing fiscal deficit is also a matter of concern and has a direct bearing on the inflation. So that is one area which we will see as we go along. I mean, Finance Minister is saying something, some economist is saying something. Everybody is entitled to have a view.
Lot of balancing act.
And let us not add another conjecture on those conjectures. So I would feel that if the Finance Minister and the government has said this, let us reasonably hope that they follow this. And I don't think it could be done by creative accounting as some people have said. Some people have said that if from 7.8 you have to bring it down to 4.8, then it will need creative accounting. I don't agree with that because that's not possible to do. So as we go along, let us see what happens. And my overall assessment is that yes, price increases are there. I think largely because of the increasing prices, fuel adjustment prices. That is one. Second, because of the seasonal and heavy rains in certain areas which has affected the supply. And third, hoarding and other problems of storage and things like that which is affected. Now, this will require a short-term strategy and a medium-term strategy. The short-term strategy is what you and I know, but medium-term strategy includes initiating measures which are going to hold on for quite some time. So let us see what happens as we go along.
Well, in this scenario, as you said, a lot of conjecture is going on the growth rate also. Where will you peg it?
I am not economist in that sense that I will peg it.
But then you definitely keep a watch on the development.
You see, ours was 4.4 in the first quarter. Now, this time, September IIP figures are pretty bad. And I don't think there will be sudden increase during the second quarter also. Later half of the year, we might see the impact. Why? I have reasons for that. As you know, suddenly government have jolted into action. A few lakh crores worth of projects have been cleared at the highest level. Now all these things will take time to ripen and to demonstrate their effect. So let us put about 4-5 months that when all these projects go on full swing.
In the pipeline implementation stage in real terms.
This will happen.
The scenario will improve.
So that is one. Secondly, there are several other measures which the government have initiated, which are also going to. Current account deficit has been controlled. Fiscal deficit we are talking of controlling. Like that.
So in due course of time, and not very long, but 4 or 5 months, things will improve.
I think we should be able to see that.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You were listening to a dialogue on inflation at 7 months high. The participants were DC Gupta, former Finance Secretary, and Gemini Kumar Srivastav, Business News Analyst. It came to you in the program Money Talk, produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. This program is also available on our website, news on air.nic.in. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.